Ethical and legal issues, our last set of lectures. And you've covered probably most of this in Jerry. I know you did it originally in concepts. So I'm basically going to hit the high points and tell you where to look in your book. Beneficence means doing no harm. It's promoting well-being. Y'all know what beneficial is, beneficence. Autonomy, freedom of choice, is what we all want. Non-malfeasance means preventing harm and correcting harmful situations. If anybody ever watched, I believe it's Sleeping Beauty, where the evil witch was called Maleficent, which means evil, doing evil. So non-malfeasance means not doing evil. Veracity is telling the truth. Fidelity is being faithful, promise-keeping, confidentiality, and privacy. And justice means fair, equitable, non-discriminatory treatment. You need to make a decision. If you haven't done it yet, you need to do it now, about quality versus quantity. What's most important to you? Your patients need to make those decisions. What's most important to them? Is it more important that they survive to be 110 or that they have quality life? They need to make that decision because that will help them to decide whether they're going to withhold or withdraw treatment. We need to go by our Code of Ethics, which is on page 19. A legal issue is what a reasonably prudent nurse would be held to. That's what you are held to. Your guidelines are listed on page 28, 29, and 30. Tort law is a type of civil wrong or injury that results from a breach of legal duty. There are 4 types. Intentional means that you have a mindset indicative of a purpose, and then you do an act. So you've got to do the act also. Assault is fear or apprehension of offensive physical contact. You don't actually have to touch them. It's also false imprisonment and trespass. So that's how you don't put all 4 side rails up on your patients. They could sue you for assault. Battery is the unlawful or offensive touching. It's the infliction of emotional distress. Now, false imprisonment could be restraining, detaining, or confining against their will. And trespass is unauthorized entry onto land or unauthorized handling of personal property. In other words, you don't go through your patient's luggage without their permission. And you don't take things away from them without their permission. Battery, we've already talked about. That infliction of emotional distress is their peace of mind. It must be extreme misconduct or outrageous behavior to inflict that emotional distress. You prevent many of these charges by informing your patient before you do something, by obtaining consent for care, and by following your standard of care. You need to document that you tried to use the restraint that's least restrictive. And by all means, don't lose any patient belongings. Not only does the institution not like it, but neither do the patients. An unintentional tort means failure or breach of nursing duties that lead to harm. Negligence is the failure to meet the standard of care that causes injury. Malpractice is a professional misconduct, breach of duty, illegal or immoral conduct, failure to exercise reasonable skills. It must cause harm. And abandonment is the duty to provide care when it's not done, and it has to result in harm. So negligence, malpractice, and abandonment must all cause harm before you can actually be, doesn't mean you can't be sued, but before anybody could win a suit against you. You prevent these by meeting your standards of care and applying your nursing process and documenting your care and what you did for it. There are specific torts. Now, these are privacy interests and interests in reputation. Defamation is a statement communicated to another that injures the good name or the will of somebody. Slander is when it's oral, and libel is when it's written. Believe me, it's harder to prove oral slander than it is libel. And another is invasion of privacy. These are our HIPAA laws. Remember, you don't know who's in the elevator. You don't know who's sitting at a table behind you. Don't talk about your patients. Even if you don't say the name, somebody will say, oh, I know who that is. That's my family member. They're talking about my family. And you very well may not be, but it makes them feel like they are. You don't want to do that. You have a strict liability not to do those sort of things. Administrative law, this is our ANA code for nurses. This is what you're held responsible for. Our relationship with the government, and our licensure, which is based on laws the government comes up with. There are essential elements of malpractice. You have wrongful death acts and wrongful birth acts. There have been cases wherein obstetricians have been sued because a child was born deformed and they knew it. And the family had said, if this is going to happen, we don't want this child, and it should have been aborted. You've also got the wrongful death acts that occur because something was not done that should have been done. There are different theories of liability. Your personal liability means you're responsible for your own acts. Your personal immunity means you're not responsible if you're reporting it in good faith. And this is our Good Sam laws. Remember, with Good Sam, you don't do surgery. You do what a reasonable, prudent person would do. First aid, CPR, basic stuff. Communicable disease reporting to the CDC or the Board of Health, mandated by law. And if you're a federal employee, they work mainly under the idea of respondent superior, which says that you can't sue them because you can't sue the federal government. Respondent superior is the boss is responsible. You're not. And that works unless you're an agency nurse, because your boss in that instance is the agency and they're not there. You are. Risk management is one way in which we prevent some of these problems. Our Nurse Practice Act, informed consent and authorization for treatment, the right to refuse or accept medical treatment. Patients have that right. We have the responsibility, though, to tell them what will happen if they do not accept medical treatment. They have to see the entire picture. There are DNR orders, DNR-CC, that we need to follow. And if you resuscitate someone who is a DNR, that could be one of those wrongful life type things that occurred. We also have our advanced directives that we need to follow. And that finishes the lecture series for Critical Care course. I hope you've enjoyed it.